I'm Sudeepthi Dondapati. Welcome to another session here. What we are discussing is that we have to focus on placement topics. So that's what we are doing these days. And prioritizing all these topics, we have selected a few topics. So what are we doing exactly? We are trying to understand the concept first, and then we are working out a few practice questions. So earlier I discussed several grammar topics, including language topics like how these words are formed, and what are soft skills, and how you can really communicate, what is this body language, and all sort of this. So part of that we are going to practice, and this is verbal aptitude. Here directly you will have to write and solve the questions that are given to you. So now when you have to use these questions in order to answer and qualify for the upcoming placement drive, you have to know how to use the concept, use the theory for, so that you can apply that in your practical issues. So now, yesterday we discussed all that verbal aptitude only, but then some other part of it, we discussed active voice and passive voice. Now for today's class session, I'm here to help you with some spotting error questions. Right? So now what is this verbal aptitude spotting errors? So why did I title this spotting errors? It's like you spot some problems there. Yes, you are right. You will identify the problem, and then you will try to find out the mistake first, and then try to resolve it by selecting one of the alternative options, given options, which is right there. Right? So now let us not waste time. Let us go directly to the questions without much discussion. Right now, see, you have no. So how do you understand the pattern of the question paper? Like, for example, verbal aptitude, just like spotting errors, are the questions entirely or completely focused on verbal aptitude spotting errors? No, it's it's a compilation of everything. Like you see, kind of like here a few questions on grammar, a few questions on word and vocabulary, and a few questions again, like both both the questions are from grammar and from vocabulary. So you don't expect questions like theory questions on general language topics as such, like the importance of this English language in the current world, or the impact of global economy on or the globalization due to which this English language has gained its importance. So now the questions are not related to that. Here in verbal aptitude, you have questions completely focused on or concentrated on this grammar aspect. So 80 to 90% of these questions will be spotting errors. So, and now in spotting errors, what are these aspects that you can really expect? So you can expect grammar article correction and prepositions. Then you can think about these it's like adverbs, conjunctions, and mostly on active voice, passive voice, and then like direct and indirect speech and all that such. Okay, all such questions. So you cannot take any chance of not trying these questions further. You will have to do it, and this is very easy actually. So some students ask me, ma'am, it's very difficult to identify the spotting error, identify the error, and then if I have to come up with an alternative option answer, I would say it's very easy if you can understand the structure of the question first. Perhaps you have some problems with understanding the questions that are asked. So you don't have to break your mind to understand the questions, but then you can do a simple thing. What you can do is first understand the pattern of the question. And how is that asked? And then once you identify the pattern and structure of the question, then you can easily focus on the mistake or error or the spotting error that is very much there in the question. So now what is it? For example, you have to understand that you see some partition there, like you see some parts. So there is no smooth sentence given over there. So what you do is you just divide the sentence, okay, in different parts. And then you see, that's how you can see it very much on the screen, how the question is divided. See, like you see the question on the screen. The same thing is that these are previous questions. In fact, I've collected for you so that you can go through these questions and get practice in order to go through those things. Like you get enough practice actually. So that's how you can really work on doing that. So now let's see the question. The famous Dr. Chandra. You see a partition there. Sometimes it's confusing, and because it is not very smooth, because it's not, in a sentence, single sentence. Obviously, you don't get time to appreciate the beauty of the sentence, but structure of the sentence. But then, like, you have to select one of those parts to identify the error, and then try to highlight the right answer. See here, one partition, the famous Dr. Chandra, next again slash, is only dentist slash, in our village slash, no error. See you, and you see A, B, C, D, 4 options given there, and they're neatly arranged for you here. Write down the question. A, B, C, D. The famous Dr. Chandra. B, is only dentist. C, in our village. D, no error. Answer what? You can see it. Now let us understand the question first. The famous Dr. Chandra is only dentist in our village. No error. So now what must be the right answer? And before you think about the right answer, let me ask you, what's wrong with that question? Is there any problem there? Or is it error free? Or it is no problematic? Now, what is that you find it? Like, do you find any, you find any problem with that, any error? Yes, of course, you can see it there. So the famous Dr. Chandra is a faulty statement. The famous Dr. Chandra, yes, of course, you are introducing. It's not faulty. And is only dentist. Is there any problem with that? In our village. In our village, there's nothing wrong there when you're talking about that something happened in your village. But you say, is only dentist here. And you see the option B as the right answer. But now, how is it right? Or how is it wrong? And how is it right to locate the error part? And how is it wrong in the given answer, in the given sentence? Now, let us settle the issue. The famous Dr. Chandra is only dentist in our village. When you say he's Dr. So-and-so and he's only dentist. So when you're trying to limit the dentist to one single person, you say is only dentist. Is only dentist means what? Is only one person, is only dentist. That means there are no other dentists given there. So when you say it's only dentist, which means you say that like no other dentist there and only one person. So then that means when you say is only one person, then obviously you take the definite article. The famous Dr. Chandra is only the dentist, or is the only dentist in our village. You have to add the definite article there, okay, to this only dentist. Then you can say he's the only person, okay, one person. He's the only dentist in our world. So in our place, that means no other person is a dentist. He's the only person who acts as a dentist. So that is why when you say he's the only one and one, only one singer or only one person, what you're trying to say is he's only one, and you can say like he is the person, like you know other person, okay, like him. So you can choose that as the right answer. The famous Dr. Chandra is only dentist in our village, and no error. Next, the famous Dr. Chandra is only dentist in our village. So what is wrong? Is only dentist is wrong. Is the only dentist you can select. So now that is the mistake, and you can select the option. Right answer. Okay. Next, this town isn't very well known, and there isn't much to be see. So a few tourists come here, and no error. This town isn't very well known, and there isn't much to see. So a few tourists come here. No error. So when you say that this town isn't very well known and there isn't much to see, so a few tourists come here. So few tourists come here. So what's wrong there? Like you see, so a few tourists come here. That means, like you say, when say it's not famous and it isn't much popular, and you say very few tourists go there or like visit that place. So a few means like at least like some of them are there, and when you say very few, like not even someone, very few means like kind of less than the enough number, the sufficient number. So you can say, so few tourists go or visit that place. So very few tourists come here. You can think in that line. So you can select the option C as the problem, as a part which is not completely error free. Okay, that's the right answer. 3. Suganya. Okay, Suganya opened a almirah full of books and took one of them for reading. No error. Suganya opened a almirah full of books and took one of them for reading. No error. So Suganya opened an almirah or full of books and took one of them. No error. Answer. So now when you say Suganya opened almirah, that means indefinite article is missing. Generally, you say vowels. Words that have vowel sound usually take an indefinite article, an hour, like an almirah. Okay, it's not a almirah. So Suganya opened an almirah full of books and took one of them for reading. So that is the right answer. So option A is wrong, and you can spot option A as the error here, and you can write the right answer. Next, as I was to reach early, I left in aeroplane instead of going by train. No error. As I was to reach early, I left an aeroplane instead of going by train. No error. So as I was to reach so and so place, early I left in aeroplane instead of going by train. No error. As I was to reach, B option, early I left in aeroplane. C, going by train. D, C instead of D, going by train. E, no error. So now what's wrong here? So as I was to reach early, I left in airplane. Okay, you can say that. Okay, you are not here to discuss the complete sentence. Just that you have to select the right the wrong option that is there. Okay, and you can choose that. So option before you select the right option, no error, going by train instead, and so you think over each and every. I left in aeroplane instead of going by train. Okay, so no error. So you can select the option carefully, but before that think of every other option. So now guess the answer. What's the answer? Option B. Yes, early I left in aeroplane is a wrong answer, but it is a right option to choose. Next, the school is within 100 yards from my house. No error. The school is within 100 yards from my house. No error. So when you say that the school is within 100 yards from my house. No error. You say the school is within 100 yards from my house. No error. Why is it? You can see the right answer, option B, like within 100 yards. Why is it wrong there? So when you say it is 100 yards, what's wrong there? Is it 100 yards? So word itself is wrong? No, it's not wrong there. But then when you see the school is within 100 yards, it's completely grammatically wrong. The school is within 100 yards. No, it's wrong. You can simply say the school is 100 yards from my house to that place. So simple. You can remove within, and that shows the right answer. Within 100 yards is not necessary, but you can say within. You can remove within, and you can say the school is 100 yards from my house. Next, my friends insisted that I should see the movie from beginning to the end. My friends insisted that I should see the movie from beginning to the end. When you say my friends insisted, somebody insisted you to watch that movie, that I should see the movie from beginning to the end. Now you can see what's the wrong answer. What is the option that you have to select? Option C, of course, is the wrong answer. Option C. Then if option C is the wrong answer, why is it wrong here? Generally, when you say from this end to that end, when you mention, he insisted that I should see the movie from beginning. So when you are saying from beginning, you have to acknowledge, you have to realize that it is, you have to take the definite article from the beginning to the end. From the beginning to the end. From first to last. From the beginning to the end. You can select that option as the right answer. From the beginning to the end. You have to use the definite article. You cannot simply use zero articles there. So that's the right option for you here. Next question. 7th one. I go to bed. I go to bed at 8 every night. No error. I go to bed at night every night. So when I say I go to bed, I go to the bed at 8 every night. So when I say I go to the bed, what's wrong there? What's wrong there? There should be some problem there, and there should be one mistake there. And what's so wrong there? And now let's look into the options. I go to the bed at 8 every night. No error. So generally when I say I go to bed, right? I go to bed at 8 o'clock every night. So when I refer to such things, like you say, I definitely go to the bed. We don't say the bed. We don't use the definite article there. Instead, you can use I go to bed at 8. So you don't necessarily have to use the definite article the. Instead, you can say simply, you can remove it and say, I go to bed at 8 every night. So you can remove the article there. Because why? Why is it wrong to remove, to use the bed? Because it's a habitual action. You practice it every time. You use it every time. You say every time. When it is habitual, it's not a specific case, then you don't use the definite article. I go to school. Okay, I go to a shop every day. I go to a shop. So, like every day, like I come from, I take from. So when these are habitual actions every time, you don't have to use the definite article, a specific article. So definitely you can eliminate the definite article, and you can use I go to bed. Next, this candidate lacks an experience, otherwise he is well qualified. 8th question, this candidate lacks an experience, otherwise he is well qualified, and no error. So when you say this candidate lacks an experience, otherwise he is well qualified. So what's wrong there? Candidate lacks an experience. Oh, when you talk about these words, like you have to be careful when you are using this definite and indefinite articles. See, now this candidate lacks B, an experience. C, otherwise is well qualified. D, other is like no error here. So when you see that lacks experience, so when you say something like, you don't talk about it specifically, a book or anything like that. So it's like the candidate lacks experience, you say. Why? When you are talking about this experience, you are directly, it's not a specific component. It is not one. Experience is, it is very vague. Okay. You cannot count. It is uncountable. When it is an uncountable, aspect, where do you use an indefinite article? So you use, for example, when I say a pen, it is a countable object. So you can count it. What? It is one pen there. So when you say it is one pen, then obviously it is countable. And what you can do is you can use an indefinite article there. But when you say experience is not countable. There one experience, two, we don't say, we say several experiences, of course, but you do not count them in measure. So in that case, what you do is you say this candidate lacks experience. Otherwise, is well qualified, no error. So generally, this candidate lacks experience, not an experience. Okay. So option B is the right answer. Ninth question. The road to famous monument passes through a forest. The road to a famous monument passes through a forest, no error. So when you say the road to a famous monument, or the road to famous monument passes through a forest, so you're not specifically talking about what is that famous monument, but generally when you say the road to famous monument, so you have to use an indefinite article there. So it's a road to a shop, a road to somewhere, like that you have to say. So the road to somewhere. The road to a famous monument passes through a forest, no error. So you can choose this one. So a famous monument, but not a famous monument. So what is wrong here? Option B. What is wrong with not adding an indefinite article? That is so if you have to add to a famous monument, then it comes right. So option B is the right answer. Next question. I'm not healthy, so I cannot afford to buy a experienced car. I'm not wealthy, so I cannot afford to buy expensive car. No error. So now what is like, I'm not wealthy, so I cannot afford. Yes, you are not wealthy, so you cannot afford to buy what? An expensive car. You have to use an indefinite article. An expensive car. So you take an indefinite article before this vowels on expensive car. So an comes first. So that's why to buy a expensive car is wrong, and to buy an expensive car is right. So you can choose that. Next, the interviewer asked me if I knew that Kalidasa was the greater than any other poet. No error. So the interviewer asked me if I knew that Kalidasa was the greater than any other. You don't say you don't use the definite article when you're comparing. It was the greater than. He was greater than any other poet. Okay, you don't have to use the. Obviously, Kalidasa was the greater. Adding the will be wrong. And that's why option C is the wrong answer. He was the greatest. If you are using it in a superlative form, then you can definitely use the definite article the. But if you are not using superlative, you can just say he was greater than any other poet. So option C is the right answer. 13th one. As soon as the teacher entered, everyone fell in a silence. As soon as the teacher entered, everyone fell in a silence. So, as soon as the teacher entered, everyone fell in silence. You don't say a silence. It's not countable. Silence is not countable. So you want to use an indefinite article there. So as soon as the teacher entered, everyone fell in silence. So you can choose this in silence. Inner silence is wrong. So that is why option C is highlighted. And the answer is option C. Everyone fell is wrong. Inner silence is wrong. 14th question. On my request, Shalu introduced me to his friend, who is singer and a scientist. On my request, Shalu introduced me to his friend, who is singer and a scientist. Means who is a singer and a scientist. So you don't say who is singer. So you have to add an indefinite article. So not adding is wrong. That's why option C is the option D is the wrong answer. Like who is singer and a scientist. You have to say singer and a scientist. So option D is the error here. So that's the answer. Next, the man cannot live by bread alone. No error. The man cannot live by bread alone. No error. So what's wrong here? Okay, it's a biblical quotation. The man cannot live by bread alone. No error. The man cannot live by bread alone. No error. Here, generally, when you refer to these universal terms, man, woman, all that, you should not use the definite article there. So instead, you can use man. That just man. Zero article is used here. Man cannot live by bread alone. That's what but every word that comes out of the mouth of the Lord. So that is it. So when you say that universal terms and universal aspect will not take the different article, you can remove the article and say man cannot live by bread alone, but by every word that God speaks. Next, 16th question. The war of Mahabharata is the full-length illustration of a righteous war. No error. The war of Mahabharata is the full-length illustration of a righteous war. So the war of Mahabharata, you can say the war of, when you use Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bible, you have to use a definite article, the Mahabharata. Of the Mahabharata. So not using the will be a mistake, and that's wrong here. So option A is the right answer. My father is in bad mood today. No error. My father is in bad mood today. So what's wrong? My father in bad mood today? No error. Generally, when you say adjective, you add, for example, mood. Maybe it's if it's noun, but then when you're adding a adjective to the existing noun, so you say my father is in a bad mood. Is in bad mood is wrong. Is in a bad mood today. No error. So that is in a bad mood is the right answer. Option B is the right answer. 18. It being a rainy day, we decided not to go out, but to stay at home. It being rainy day, we decided not to go out, but to stay at home and watch a movie. No error. So what's wrong here? It being a rainy day. It's not one rainy day, one particular day. So you don't say it being rainy day. Instead you say it being a rainy day. So that is the right answer. So option A is the right answer. Most people would have attended the union meeting if they had longer notice of it. Most people would have attended the union meeting if they had longer notice of it. So what's wrong here? Most people would have attended the union meeting if they had any longer notice of it. No error. So that's a question here. Most people would have attended the meeting if they had a longer notice of it. So what is it? There's nothing wrong here because everything is fine. Most people would have attended the union meeting if they had a longer notice of it. So it's not wrong. Everything is perfect, and you can go with the option A. No error. Next, to perform this experiment, drop little sugar into a glass of water. To perform this experiment, drop little sugar into a glass of water. So no error. So what's that? To perform this experiment, drop little sugar into a glass of water. No error. So what's wrong here to perform this experiment? Drop little sugar or drop a little sugar into a glass of water. No error, etc. So now to perform this experiment, drop little sugar into a glass of water. No error. So what you can do is like you have to use whenever, again, like one more time, you are using adjective to that particular noun, sugar. So you say a little sugar. Okay, so a little means like some sufficient amount of it. So you don't have to say that less than that. You can say into. So you can to perform this experiment, drop a little sugar into a glass of water. No error. So into a little sugar, option B is the wrong answer. So that's the error you have to spot. Next, question number 21. These display the remarkable variety. No error. These display the remarkable variety. No display. What's wrong here? Is it the or these display or remarkable variety? So what's wrong here? Generally, when you say the remarkable, the best, only one thing. You can say the most remarkable variety, you say, okay, because you use the different article with superlative. And the remarkable variety, these display the remarkable variety. Okay, and you can say the no error, like the most remarkable variety. The takes most, okay, and you can add the most remarkable variety. This display. So you can mark option B as the wrong answer. Next question. No longer a figure than this. No longer a figure than this. Prescribed in the history. No error. No longer a figure than his, prescribed in the history. So what's wrong here? They are no longer a figure than his, prescribed in the history. So no stronger figure than his, prescribed in the history. So what's wrong here? No stronger a figure than his, prescribed in the history. Prescribed in history. Okay, so prescribed in the history. So what's wrong? Which part of it? No stronger or a figure than his, or prescribed in the history. A figure than his is prescribed in the history. So you have to add, okay, what is it? Whether it is no stronger a figure than his is prescribed in the history. So you can select the option is as a right, like prescribed in the history, is prescribed in the history. Option C as the right answer. Next, 24th question. According to the Bible, it is meek and humble who shall inherit the earth. According to the Bible, it is meek and humble who shall inherit the earth. No error. So now what you have to select the right option. So according to the Bible, again, a biblical quotation, it is meek and humble. Now observe carefully the options given. According to the Bible, it is meek and humble who shall inherit the earth. No error. So when you say that, you have to think about it clearly. So it is meek and humble who shall inherit earth. Now see it, meek and humble, both are there. So obviously you take plural form. So according to the Bible, meek and meek and humble who shall okay, they who are meek and humble. So you have to use the plural there. Who are, according to the Bible, it is they who are meek and humble who shall inherit the earth, or the ones who are humble and meek shall inherit the earth. So you can say meek and humble both are two different words, and they are plural state. So you don't say it is meek and humble, but you say they are meek and humble. So that is why it is right to use they are meek and humble. So you have to use the plural form. It's like those are meek and humble. You can also say, according to the Bible, those who are meek and humble who shall inherit the earth. So now option A, option B, option C, here in the given option B, it is meek and humble. So that is wrong here. And you can choose the option according to the Bible, it is those who are meek and humble shall inherit the earth. So that is the right answer. So you can select the option B as the right answer. Next. To examine one's own thoughts and feelings. To examine one's thoughts and feelings. Here, it is not a spotting error question, but like one of those questions got mixed. Sometimes they may not exactly ask you the questions which are wrong, but sometimes they might ask you to select any one synonym also. It depends again. It's though not part of this procedure, but still if there might be a question like this, and actually this has happened already in the past. So to examine oneself, what is that to examine? Is it meditation, retrospection, reflection, or introspection? What's it? It is like introspection. You think about your own thoughts and feelings. Like I introspect. I think about my thoughts and feelings. So option D is the right answer. Next question. The interviewer asked me if I knew that Kalidasa was the greater than any other poet. Okay. So again, you say the interviewer asked me if I knew that Kalidasa was greater than any other poet. So you don't say was the greater. You say was the greatest. In superlative form you can use, but you don't say was the greater than any other poet. You cannot take this as the right sentence. So you can spot the error and choose that option as the right answer. So these are a few questions on spotting errors. So try to practice them. It will be very easy. But then how do you get to spot the error? The only tip what I can say is, like, if you have to learn grammar properly, if you know how to use articles, how to use like proper words, adverbs and adjectives, the structure of a sentence or sentential knowledge is compulsory here. So when you know these basic ground rules, then you'll be able to identify the errors, and you can spot the errors and take up the right answer, or like try to choose and highlight the right answer. So now stay tuned. In the next class, we will take up another verbal aptitude aspect and try to discuss in depth. Until then, keep practicing and keep learning. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.